Hello everybody and welcome to my channel LSH Movies. Today I'm going to explain the movie named The Mask from 1994. So without wasting the time, let's start the explanation of this movie. At the beginning of the movie we see a city named Edge where plumbing work was being carried out. A plumber that was working there sees a box underneath and a box was tied with a metal lock. The person anyhow opens the lock before he could see what was inside. A metal pipe falls on the person and the person backs off. Suddenly when the pipe collides with the box opens up and an ancient wooden mask comes out and it floats off in the water. After that we see a person whose name's Stanley in that city. He was a bank employee and very simple person, but nobody seemed to like him there. Stanley asks her office colleague out with 2 movie tickets for a date. But she refuses, says one of her friend wants to come too as she also wants to watch the movie. Stanley abundantly gives the 2 tickets to her so she can go with her friend as he didn't want to hurt her. The girl walks off bluffing Stanley. Stanley's friend Charlie arrives and tells Stanley how the girl used and marked him fool. Afterwards a very beautiful girl arrives and Stanley along with his friend is flabbergasted. The girl nears Stanley and says she wants to open a bank account, but as there was a hidden camera in her bag monitoring the security of the bank. Tina's boyfriend Dorian wanted to loot the bank. Hence he set in using Tina to the bank was part of the mafia. Charlie tells Stanley about the organized party in the evening and also about the beautiful girls visiting. He also invites Stanley to come. After the office Stanley visits a mechanic to get his car. Instead of repairing, the mechanic had found more problems in the car. Stanley becomes dismayed as he had to go to the party, then he asks the mechanic for another car. The mechanic gives him his old rusty car and Stanley drives it to the party. As Stanley's friend knows a member of the club, he was allowed inside but Stanley was bullied and thrown outside. Poor Stanley takes his rusty car and starts for his home, but on the way at the bridge his car gets smashed. Stanley looks down at the water and finds a body floating. He jumped into the water and he dives down and tries to save it, but finds that it's aggregation of plastic and waste which looked like a dead body. From above Stanley finds a mask which was in the wooden box as shown before. He takes the mask back to his home. His dog Milo was at home too. Seeing the mask, Milo starts acting weird. He picked up the mask and started looking at it, but he puts it on. Upon wearing it, Stanley gets transformed entirely. His face goes green. He goes out of his room. At that moment a clock comes out of his pocket and keeps making noise. Stanley takes out a very big hammer from his pocket and smashes the clock. Hearing the noise of hammer, Stanley's landlady comes out and gets afraid of Stanley. The landlady aims her gun at Stanley and fires. But not a single bullet could touch Stanley. Stanley escapes from a nearby window on the street. The car driver disturbs Stanley by making noises via horn continually. Stanley takes out a big horn and presses it. Smoke comes out from the car and driver. He goes to the garage where his car was, since the mechanic couldn't repair his car on time. He was ashamed at the club. So Stanley teaches them both a good lesson. He wakes up in his bed the next day. Waking up he thinks everything that happened yesterday was a dream. But at that moment someone knocks on his door. And he sees Lieutenant Mitch is standing outside and asks if he had seen any person wearing a green mask. The guy had slunk in to kill his landlady. Stanley gets shocked hearing this and now he firmly believes that what has happened in reality, not in his dreams. Stanley then quickly informs Mitch that he had not seen anyone like that. Stanley, to save himself from all the trouble, throws the mask out of his window, but we see the mask has come out to its original place. On its own arriving at the office, Stanley's boss rebukes him by saying this isn't a time to arrive. At the office Stanley feels disheartened and wants to go to the club again where he wasn't allowed to enter yesterday. As Tina danced at the same club, it was the same girl who had come to open a bank account, but despite wishing, Stanley couldn't go, as it was the biggest and excessive club in the city and it wasn't as easy getting into. Stanley, after returning home, sees that the mask had returned to its original place even by he had thrown it with his own hands. Stanley obstinately wears the mask. On the other hand, at the bank there were Dorian's men who came to loot the bank, but before they could do anything Stanley came out breaking the door. He was wearing the green mask. He says, "You guys, post that." We see Dorian threatening his men, but they say someone has already looted the bank before they arrived and the man is dancing with Tina right now. Hearing this, Dorian orders his men to catch Stanley. The man starts shooting Stanley, but he doesn't incur a single scratch and he escapes. But a piece of his tire remains there by a bullet. The police arrive at the club band. The inspector says Dorian's men have been spotted looting the bank and he is arrested on that charge. The policeman asks Dorian about the green mask guy. Dorian says he doesn't know anyone like that and nobody from his gang is associated with him. Mitch finds Stanley's tire remains and remembers only Stanley wears this type of tie. Mitch suspects Stanley and he visits Stanley to talk with him, but Stanley says his tie is stolen. The next day, after arriving at the office, his boss with a bad temper again shouting upon Stanley for arriving late. He says the bank has been looted. Stanley tells his boss if he does this again he'll accuse with the robbery charge. Tina arrives at that moment and says she is like the masked guy and wants to meet him. Stanley tells Tina he knows the masked man and he'll let Tina meet him at the park tonight. Stanley goes to a doctor who knew about masks. He tells Stanley this mask is of old god of North, Loki, the god of mischief. Loki was thrown out by other gods for his excessive evil. Stanley shows the doctor the events surrounding the mask, but the doctor doesn't believe him. Then Stanley wears the mask, but it doesn't change Stanley a single bit. Stanley realizes this mask only works during night. Stanley wears the mask during night and goes to meet Tina at the park. Mitch along with his assistants try to catch them. Tina escapes, but they're able to catch Stanley, but Stanley escapes, making them fool. After Stanley comes out of the park, he sees the whole police force is waiting for him. Stanley, using his magic, starts dancing with the police and using the opportunity goes to an empty corner and forcefully removes his mask. A woman whose name Peggy appears. She was a journalist and already knew Stanley before she rescues Stanley and takes him out of danger. In her car she takes him to her office. She talks sweetly to Stanley and he tells everything to her and how the mask works during night and he gains invincible power. At that moment Dorian and his men comes there and Dorian gives Peggy $50,000 for her work. Peggy was doing this for money and she hands over the mask to Dorian. Dorian's men hang Stanley upside down. Dorian asks Stanley how the mask works. Stanley tells him he just has to wear the mask. After wearing the mask, Dorian's face totally changes. Dorian doesn't kill him, rather plans to deceive him with a fake mask and hands him over to the police. Because the police were finding a man who was wearing a green mask. Dorian's men go to Stanley's house and take all the money he looted from the bank in their bags. Stanley's dog Milo was also there. When he looks down he sees his master Stanley held captive in his car. After that, when Dorian's men were taking Stanley away, Milo chased after them. Dorian's men throw Stanley hand-tied in front of the police. The police find a green mask from him and immediately arrest Stanley. Tina goes to visit Stanley in jail. Stanley confides the truth to Tina. Tina says he looks good without the mask and he doesn't need to wear the mask. Stanley says whoever wears the mask, his or her dreams come true. Dorian is in the mafia, accordingly he'll try to capture the whole city. Tina tells him Dorian would surely do something tonight. Then she tenders Stanley goodbye and goes away. She was going out of the city, but as soon as she comes out of jail Dorian's men chase Tina. Tina tries to escape from them and screeches his. Stanley, hearing the screams, he looks out of the window and sees Tina chased by hooligans of Dorian. He tries to tell the cops the girl whom he just met now is being chased by goons. But the police do not give Stanley any warmth. After that, dog Milo arrives and reaches to his window by jumping. Milo steals the key to the cellar of his master and Stanley escapes, but Mitch arrives at that instant. Stanley points a gun at him and cleverly escapes. On the other hand, Dorian has become the masked man and also has Tina by his side. When he went to loot a very big club which was under his boss Nico. After knowing this, asks his men to shoot Dorian, but it doesn't do anything to his body. Dorian takes the bullets in his mouth and shoots Nico. He then binds Tina and attaches a time bomb to her because she had cheated him. Stanley arrives there, but Dorian's men capture him and take him in front of Dorian. Dorian asks his men to kill Stanley. At that moment Tina says she wants to kiss Dorian for the last time. But when he tries to kiss her, Tina tells him she wants to kiss the original Dorian. Dorian removes his mask. While kissing Tina, she kicks the mask and it drifts in the air, and before anyone could catch it, Stanley's dog Milo catches it and runs away. Dorian's men try to catch Milo and after all do so, but Milo wears a mask and gets transformed, then starts biting his men very badly. On the contrary, Stanley and Dorian face off each other. In a brutal fight, Stanley beats Dorian very badly and removes the mask from Milo. Dorian's men arrive there and start shooting him. One bullet hits the mask and the mask gets knocked off behind the bar counter. Stanley follows the mask, tells that he had witnessed it with his own eyes. Dorian was the real criminal and not Stanley. Mitch releases Tina and Stanley. Mitch and the others see Milo is running away with the mask. Mitch tells the mayor the same, but the mayor retorts by saying they should catch the real criminal. Instead of chasing the dog, Stanley, Tina, Charlie and Milo arrive at the same bridge where he found the mask. Stanley and Tina come near the bridge with the mask and Stanley tells Tina he's nothing without the mask, so would you love me as I am? Then Tina takes the mask and throws it into the water and kisses Stanley. Stanley's friend Charlie can't control his greed and jumps into the water to get the mask. But before he can reach it, Stanley's dog Milo takes the mask away and the movie ends there. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel too. I will meet you again with one other interesting video. Till then, bye bye and take care of yourself.